Yeah. This is getting worse by the minute for Frank Martin and his team. At the end of the day, I gotta keep it a buck, man. And I know people said let's not jump to conclusions and let's listen. We've seen this before. Um, we've seen this pattern before. We've seen this model before. Um, with the so-called other side of the street. As I said before, it's no way to get around this. Apparently, even Top Rank issued a statement. Todd DeBuff, Top Rank, he said basically they was willing to more than compensate Frank Martin. Frank Martin walked away from $1 million. He walked away from life changing money where he is as a fighter. And you can even make an argument that he possibly didn't even deserve $1 million, but they was willing to give him upwards of $1 million. A 7-figure payday. Do y'all know how much Frank Martin got paid for his last fight? Frank Martin made between 85,000 to at best $100,000 for his last fight. And basically somebody talked him out of walking away from the biggest payday of his career. But then this happened before. This is the PBC model where they don't want to make certain fights based off who the opponent could possibly be. The only one, like I said, who got hard over there, and I'm not even going to include Errol Spence because it took them years to make Spence versus Terrence Crawford when they could have made it a while ago. I'm not giving Errol Spence credit, and that's just real talk. Because at the end of the day, he was in on it, prolonging the fight with Terrence Crawford, and you seen what happened with Errol Spence, and I think they saw what was going to happen with Frank Martin and Shakur Stevenson, and basically they got cold feet and they pulled out of the fight and basically less than 48 hours. It wasn't even a full-fledged 48 hours before they pulled away from this fight. At the end of the day, everybody involved on the PB side looks bad, from Frank Martin to his promoter Errol Spence, um, the PBC, and of course Al Heyman, because at the end of the day, Frank Martin was fighting on PBC cards, even though he's part of um, Man Down Promotions. But you got to think, and then Showtime looks kind of bad if they talk Frank Martin out of not going through with this fight. And he was going, like I said, it's just no way you could talk around it. None of you PBC nut huggers can come on here and make any kind of excuse. He was going to be more than compensated to cross the other side of the street. This is the same thing that happened many moons ago. But then you had these clowns sitting up here lying and playing these games. Haven't you PBC sack huggers got enough of making a fool of yourselves by always trying to defend Al Heyman, the PBC, and some of the people on the PBC roster for basically walking away from big fights, challenging fights. But if they win, they can reap the benefits of getting the actual credit that they think they should get. Do you know what that could have did for Frank Martin's career if he would have took the fight and beat Shakur Stevenson? But no. But this is the same thing that they did years ago, where basically Danny Garcia and Al Heyman interfered with a Danny Garcia versus Terrence Crawford fight. Danny Garcia was offered $3 million to fight Terrence Crawford, and he took far less money to fight Adrian Granados. So whatever's in store for Frank Martin, if he get put on Tank's next card, if he gets to face the winner of Cruz and Tank, I promise you, he not gonna get paid what he would have got like to fight Shakur Stevenson. Now, if he ends up fighting Tank, then that's a different story, I guess. But then it'll just further prove that the PBC don't really believe in their fighters, that they don't believe that they are superior to top ranked fighters. And behind the scenes, once again, Al Heyman, he don't like doing cross promotional deals. Because believe it or not, he really didn't want Deontay Wilder to fight Tyson Fury in two more fights. And he played a role in basically Deontay Wilder not having the opportunity to fight Charles Martin, even though they got finessed by Eddie Hearn. And then you heard behind the scenes that Charles Martin got finessed by some people that was handling uh, as far as his career go, his affairs. But like I said, this is just textbook. So like I said before, I know people gonna make excuses trying to explain Frank Martin walking away from a big time payday, and there's no guarantee that he's gonna get paid. There's no guarantee that he's gonna get paid X amount of money to fight Tank Davis. If he indeed fights Tank Davis, I guarantee you he's not gonna get $1 million to fight um Isaac Cruz. So like I said before, this just shows you this just shows you a long standing pattern with the PBC and their reluctance to, you know, make cross promotional fights. It's just you just starting to see it now. It's starting to be like, hey, we're not going to send you over to another promotional company and possibly lose a fight, because the thing is with the PBC fighters, they want to continue to try to sell and push their undefeated records to, basically try to get them into certain type of fights with other PBC fighters and selling it as, oh, well, he's undefeated. But yeah, at the end of the day, well, we're looking at the roster on the PBC versus the roster versus top rank. Once again, it's just looking like some of those PBC fighters are not on the level of a lot of those top rank fighters. And I think if a lot of those fights got made between certain promotional entities, you would see. But now we're not going to see, because now another blown opportunity is gone due to the fact that somebody got cold feet. But like I said, I expect the PBC nut huggers and the Al Heyman apologists to make excuses and justify him walking away from this fight. Now, according to Top Rank, they're saying that Shakur Stevenson is still going to fight. So, who would be a likely replacement for Frank Martin? You might could see Jermaine Ortiz, or you could see somebody else, but it's not going to live up to the standards of what we thought we might be getting and seeing a fight with Frank Martin versus Shakur Stevenson. And like I said, I'm disappointed. I'm just really disappointed. I'm just frustrated because, like I said, we continue to get this BS. I can tell you right now, as a guy that's going on 49 years old, I really miss the old days of boxing. I miss the 80s, the 90s, and the early 2000s, where um, you didn't have these situations, you didn't have these tug of wars, you didn't have a lot of egos involved, you didn't have a lot of game plan. But then, like I said, what goes on a lot of times, and keep in mind, these promotional companies, they use the internet, and they use these content creators too to push narratives too, and try to justify not making certain fights. So where we think some of these content creators are not relevant, they're playing a pivotal role because they know certain dudes with bigger platforms. They know that they're gonna talk and manipulate and lie and try to justify why this can't happen, shouldn't happen, won't happen, will not happen, may not ever happen. So I don't even think. I, well, here's the thing. I don't even. I just know some stuff going on behind the scene. This doesn't have nothing to do with. This just has nothing to do with a black this or a white that. This just got something to do with people just playing games. This has just been a long-standing thing with Al Heyman and his reluctance to do business with other promotional companies, where he wants to do stuff um in-house within his own stable. Like I said, a lot of money is being lost. You know, a lot of money is just being lost. And like I said, for them to pull out of this fight in less than 48 hours of coming to terms, they agreed to pay this man. Everybody was going to be compensated. So, yeah, that could be possible. We all know Al Heyman didn't want Errol Spence to take the Terrence Crawford fight. We all know that Al was hoping to match Errol Spence up with Keith Thurman. And if he got past Keith Thurman, he was going to try to find a way to set up a Canelo fight, as long as he can secure Canelo coming back to the PBC. And that's why he was going to give Canelo that soft touch, where basically he was going to find, out of those 3 fights for the 3 fight deal, he was going to try to find Canelo by what he thought and what he figured could be the most possible winnable fights for Canelo, but at the same time, make the fights look sellable and try to legitimize these fights as much as possible. And then hope that Errol Spence defeats Keith Thurman, which he probably thought Errol Spence would be able to stop Keith Thurman, due to the fact that Keith Thurman has just been very inactive. And then possibly, you know, especially and speed up his process, maybe time warp him, like get him a soft touch, but at the same time, a presentable and winnable fight at 154. Maybe somebody like Lubin, due to the fact that Lubin is possibly not the same fighter due to the damage that he took with the Fundora fight. Maybe put Errol Spence in the ring with somebody like that, and then find a way to get him up to maybe between 162 and maybe possibly 165, and try to convince Canelo to come down a few pounds to legitimize that fight, and basically get people into believing that Errol Spence has a chance versus Canelo. And then Canelo mops the floor with Errol Spence in all likely, but Errol Spence gets paid like around 30 to possibly $35 million. Canelo walks away with, who knows, anywhere between 60 to 70 million, and then that's pretty much it. That might have been part of Al's plan, but due to the fact that Errol Spence didn't listen to Al Heyman, he said, "Well, you know what? I'm just gonna go on and go through with the Terrence Crawford fight." Like I said before, you done heard this about Al Heyman doing this several times. And according to reports, he tried to talk Steve Fulton out of the Inoue fight. Steve Fulton got paid life-changing money for that Inoue fight. I'm glad Steve Fulton got paid the type of money to take the ass whooping that he took, because he took a major ass whooping. But at least he got compensated. And the same thing was about to happen to Frank Martin, and now he then got talked out of taking this fight because they want to save him for somebody else. Like I said before, it just appears to me that Al Heyman sees something in his fighters that he just don't believe in doing cross promotional fights, because the PBC doesn't have a good record versus head to head matchups with other promotional companies. And they must have thought that Frank Martin was going to get beat the hell up by Shakur, and now all of a sudden we don't have a fight. When is people going to just call a spade a spade? Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, that may be true, but as far as the fans go, we want to see these type of fights. And 20, 30 years down the line, when people evaluating some of these PBC fighters are developing the PBC as a whole, people gonna tell the truth and say, hey man, there was a lot of crazy stuff going on with the PBC. Well, you know what? I had Shakur winning that fight, soundly. I thought Shakur was gonna soundly beat Frank Martin. And I think behind the scenes, Al saw possibly another Terrence Crawford Errol Spence too. And he was just like, I can't allow lightning to strike twice as far as the other side of the street go. But at the end of the day, this is what they were saying. They were the ones hollering all this stuff about this gotta happen, that gotta happen. And, coming up with these ridiculous quotes and notions, putting up unnecessary roadblocks and excuses to keep these fights from happening. No matter how you see this, like I said, everybody involved looks very bad. As far as the other side of the street goes, Frank Martin looks bad in this situation. Errol Spence looks bad. And the PBC looks bad. And definitely Al Heyman looks bad, because you have to attach him to all this stuff. And like I said, I expect people to make these videos trying to sneak diss me or sneak diss other people, trying to question our blackness by going in on the PBC, and which, like I said, that I'll take that with a grain of sand, because like I said, none of these dudes can sit up here and say anything about me and question me. I've been consistent with this. Like I said before, all I want to see is the best fighting the best. I've said this before and I'm gonna say this again. It ain't my job to tell anybody what promotional company to sign with. It's not my job. My job is to talk about fights being made and how we can get these fights made. I'm not on nobody's payroll, so I'm not doing that. So there you have it. I can't wait to see who gonna come up with the excuse to try to justify them walking away from this kind of money. They walked away from they walked away from $1 million. There you have it. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Now we see once and for all whose fault it is that a lot of these fights are not happening. And like I said before, you don't never usually hear Top Rank come out and say, what's going on behind the scenes. But you had Todd DeBuff of Top Rank come out and basically speak on this out of frustration. All that's gonna happen is, the PBC people, they gonna see this stream. Somebody gonna send it to them, like one of their cronies, one of their apologists. Oh, look what this dude said about you. And then all they gonna do is behind the scene. Oh, I ain't speaking to him. I ain't gonna do no interview with him. So, so I'll be all right. Like I told you, the same way I don't give a damn about whether Clarissa Shields ever talked to me. I don't care about nobody from Team Spence talking to me. Not when they making moves like this. At the end of the day, they deserve to be criticized. Eric, you just Eric on the real, bro. You gonna have to keep. I'm gonna have to keep it solid with you. I can't keep doing this stuff, man. I can't keep hearing these excuses about maybe no. Um, at the end of the day, Frank Martin should be like, hey, to hell with y'all. Is you gonna pay me $1 million? If Frank Martin say, hey, I'm gonna get paid $1 million not to take a fight like this with, you know what I'm saying, a low caliber, low reward, low risk, then okay. But at the end of the day, I can't keep hearing people making excuses for the PBC and people aligned with them, because this has been going on for years. This has been going on a regular basis with them. They have a paper trail. They have a video trail. They even, to a certain degree, have a money trail. So like I said before, I'm not sitting up here sucking up the Top Rank, but I'm just telling the truth. They were willing to, you can make an argument, overcompensate Frank Martin, who didn't even touch possibly six figures for his last fight. That man didn't even touch six figures allegedly for his last fight, but but he turned down seven figures. So, like I said, they was more than willing to compensate him. Exactly. Exactly. They kept this fight from going to a purse bid, and then it's no guarantee that he would have got more money for a purse bid. Top Rank basically said, hey, okay, we'll give you $1 million to let us be the lead promoter in this fight. Because if they felt like they wasn't going to get a decent amount of money, then they should have took their chance with a purse bid. But this is why they decided not to go to a purse bid. So you can't make no excuses for them. And then for them to back out of the fight in less than 48 hours and say, nah, we no longer interested in the fight. This is a quote that came from them, allegedly. So how you gonna sit up there and try to put this on Shakur Stevenson at Top Rank? Now, like I said, y'all gonna have to stop falling for these fake militant black channels, because they, for real, these people that try to pretend to be pro-black channels about as pro-black as DeSantis. That's about how pro-black they is. They about as pro-black as Ron DeSantis or Joe Biden or David Dukes. So stop falling for that, the man and all this kind of stuff, man. That I'm just keeping it a buck. That's about as how pro-black they are. Well, obviously Frank Martin ain't who we thought he was. That that seems to be apparent. But like I said, how many times have you seen this before? Steve Fulton. Steve Fulton overruled Al Heyman allegedly. He said, "Hey man, if you screw up this fight for me, man, I'm done. I'm done with the PBC." At the end of the day, man, at the end of the day, if I'm Frank Martin, yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter whether he could be possibly fighting on the undercard. Is he gonna be guaranteed a meal ticket? And then if that's the case, then if that's the case, then they basically, if they knew they wasn't gonna take this fight, that mean basically this was just a PR move all along. Basically trying to make it look like they really was interested in the Shakur Stevenson fight, where basically Frank Martin, if he would have won, he would have had a strap, which would have put him in a position to ask for more money per fight with the PBC. But then all of a sudden, now belts don't matter to them. Now that they got Tank. And I'm gonna be honest with you, Tank is their thoroughbred right about now. So at the end of the day, they're gonna make sure, for the most part, that they're gonna put Tank in position where he could win fights instead of putting him in a high risk fight. So I'm gonna tell you right now, don't expect to see, and I'm gonna just keep it a buck. Don't expect to see a Tank versus Shakur Stevenson fight anytime soon. I can tell you right now, as long as Shakur Stevenson is fighting for another promotional company, that's what they gonna do. Because at the end of the day, they don't want to sit up there and say that they lost to another promotional company. I'm telling you right now, they finna try to pull the same stuff with Shakur Stevenson as they did with Terrence Crawford. They're gonna try to force him. They're gonna say, I already know this is what they trying to do because they just did this with Terrence Crawford. But at the same time, they really didn't want to make the Terrence Crawford fight. So all this is like what you would call a 360 like format. This is real talk. They don't want to do those. They don't want to do those type of fights, man. And it just speaks volumes about them. They don't want to do no cross promotional fights because they really don't believe in their guys. Oh, he ghosted. He is a ghost. He ghosted Shakur Stevenson. You know, they just, for real. I hate the fact that Shakur Stevenson got played, man, because like I said, I don't have no issue with Shakur Stevenson. And I'm gonna say that again. I don't have no issue with Shakur Stevenson. Like I said, if you Shakur Stevenson, you got to think to yourself, damn, man, I got played. This was gonna be a good fight. And like I said, the people that lose out on this opportunity is not only Shakur Stevenson and Frank Martin, because this would have legitimized Frank Martin. If he could go into a fight with Shakur Stevenson and defeat Shakur Stevenson, this will legitimize him. So, like I said before, all these people that's talking this junk about Shakur Stevenson, listen, I'm gonna say this once again. I'm in good standing with the Haneys. I'm in good standing with Shakur. Like I said before, I told you I wasn't gonna get involved in this stuff. Wasn't nobody gonna try to play me up against the Haneys or Shakur Stevenson because I deal with both of them. So nobody wasn't gonna try to make me choose because, one, here's the thing about me. I'm not no hoe. So nobody can pimp me. I'm from the Bay. Okay. Where the movie The Mac was filmed. So I know all about pimps and hoes. That's real talk. But like I said before, this is a horrible look for Frank Martin, man. Horrible look for that man. And I'm gonna be honest with you. This is like the keep in mind. This is kind of like this is lawsuit stuff right here. Now I'm not telling nobody, but this is the type of stuff that caused you to end up in court Because at the end of the day, you trying to make these fights, and then all of a sudden you can't get these fights made. If it ain't one thing, it's another. So like I said before, man, I'm not trying to hear, man, I'm not trying to hear this no more, man. I'm not trying to hear the ode to the PBC stuff, man. If you still, man, if you still on this ode to the PBC, praise Al Heyman and all that kind of stuff, and Al Heyman's name, this is what you call being part of a cult. Y'all on some Jim Jones stuff with Al Heyman. And y'all been drinking too much of Al Heyman and the PBC's poisonous Kool-Aid. Some of y'all is already choking y'all self out because y'all just keep taking the bait. Y'all just keep taking the bait. How long y'all gonna keep letting the PBC fool y'all? They not as confident in themselves as they pretend to be. This is what they want to happen. They showing you they don't believe in their guys like they try to pretend. Yeah, they believe in their guys when it's people that's attached to the PBC or aligned with the PBC. That's real talk. Y'all got to stop falling for this, man. How many times y'all gonna look for fool's gold and take it? This is fool's gold with the PBC, and it's been fool's gold. You know? I'm just trying to tell y'all, man. I've been doing this for a while now. Every time I look around, when you think that there's hope that you're gonna get, okay, finally we get this fight, not past this expiration date. They get our hopes up, and then they just suck the wind from out of us. And Frank Martin, he looking real bad right about now. He looking real bad right about now, and everybody involved and aligned with Frank Martin, they looking bad. Even Spence looking bad because that's his promoter. And I promise you, PBC wouldn't have won the purse bid if it would have went to a purse bid. So here we go again. But anyway, you guys, I just wanted to put that out there. I'll be back with more later on. Appreciate you guys. So that's it. I'll be back with more later on. Out.